Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will define the entire journey you're about to take. You are losing battles no one can see. Private battles, silent battles, internal battles that determine everything you become. And the truth is simple. You don't lose to the world first. You lose to yourself. This audiobook is your manual for the discipline you don't talk about. The quiet discipline, the invisible discipline, the discipline that mentally stronger people use every single day. If you're ready to stop being controlled by impulses, emotions, and excuses, then prepare yourself, because today you begin the war within, and you win it. Chapter 1. Stop lying to yourself. Listen closely, because this chapter is not here to comfort you, it is here to confront you. There is a silent war happening inside you. And the first enemy is not your weakness. It is not your environment. It is not your past. It is your excuses. Your excuses are the lies you tell yourself so you don't have to face who you really are. And I need you to hear this with absolute clarity. If you lie to yourself, you break yourself. Say it again in your mind. Feel the weight of it. Because this is the truth no one teaches you growing up. People lie to others to protect their reputation, but people lie to themselves to protect their comfort. And comfort is the enemy of discipline. The first lie, I'll start tomorrow. This is the softest lie, the smallest lie, the most dangerous lie. You whisper it to yourself like it's harmless. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it when I feel better. I'll wait until I'm ready. But tomorrow is not a plan. Tomorrow is an escape route. Tomorrow is self-deception dressed as optimism. And every time you delay, you teach your mind a simple rule. My intentions don't matter. You break the trust between who you are and who you want to be. That is why your confidence dies slowly, not because you fail, but because you don't keep your own word. Confidence is not built by success. Confidence is built by consistency, and consistency dies the moment you lie to yourself. The second lie, I'm trying. Listen carefully. Trying is the most common disguise for staying exactly the same. Trying is not doing. Trying is not committing. Trying is not giving everything you have. Trying is a polite word for hesitating. The truth? Most people only try when they want the feeling of effort without the responsibility of change. Trying lets you say, I'm not lazy. Look, I'm trying. But deep inside, you know you are not moving. If you tracked your actions, truly tracked your hours, your decisions, your effort, you would see that trying is often nothing more than thinking about the thing you should be doing. Thinking is not trying. Talking is not trying. Excusing is not trying. Action. Only action is real. And if you want discipline, you need reality, not stories. Repeat it slowly. If you lie to yourself, you break yourself. The third lie, I'm tired. Here is the truth people avoid. You are not tired. You are untrained. Your mind gets tired from tasks that disciplined people consider warm-ups. Your energy collapses not because you are weak, but because your discipline is weak. People who move their body daily have energy. People who control their attention have focus. People who structure their day have clarity. Your tiredness is not physical. It is emotional. It is the exhaustion that comes from avoiding your potential. Avoiding your best self drains more energy than becoming your best self. You lie to yourself when you say you're tired, because what you really mean is, I don't want to be uncomfortable. The moment you stop using tired as a shield, the moment you stop using tired as an excuse, you will experience something powerful. Effort creates energy. Discipline creates energy. Momentum creates energy. But the lie kills all of that. And every time you lie, you weaken your ability to grow. Micro lies. The tiny decisions that destroy you. It's not the big lies that ruin your life. It's the small ones. I'll wake up in 10 more minutes. I'll just check my phone for a second. I'll start eating healthy next week. I deserve a break. You say them casually, you say them quietly, you say them daily, and every micro-lie becomes a micro-fracture in your identity. You can't build a strong life on a cracked foundation. You can't build discipline when your inner voice is unreliable. You can't build confidence when your promises mean nothing. Self-mastery begins with ruthless honesty, not honesty with others, honesty with yourself. Because if your inner world is dishonest, your outer world will always be chaotic. Why self-deception is the worst addiction. People think addiction means substances, but the strongest addiction in the world is the addiction to your comfort and your story. You cling to the identity that keeps you small. You cling to the narrative that keeps you safe. You cling to the excuses that protect your ego, but your ego does not need protection. It needs correction. Self-deception is powerful because it feels good. You get to avoid the truth without paying a price, until the day you realize the price was your entire life. Every lie steals a piece of your future. Every excuse steals a piece of your strength. And every moment you choose comfort over honesty, you choose a weaker version of yourself. This is the harsh truth. You cannot win an internal war while defending your excuses. Radical honesty, the first discipline. If you want to transform, if you want to rebuild, if you want to win, you need to develop the first discipline. Radical honesty with yourself. Say exactly what you are doing. Say exactly what you are avoiding. Say exactly what you are choosing. Stop saying, "I don't have time." Say, "I didn't prioritize it." Stop saying, "I tried." Say, "I didn't commit." Stop saying, "I'm tired." Say, "I chose comfort over growth." This is not self-criticism. This is self-liberation. Because the moment you stop lying, you finally gain control. You finally see what needs to be fixed. You finally stop negotiating with your potential. You finally start building the version of you that you admire, not the version you excuse. The action step: build self-trust through small wins. Here is what you must do starting today. Pick one promise, one small promise, and keep it every day. Wake up at the time you choose. Drink water first thing in the morning. Read for 10 minutes. Walk for 10 minutes. Write one paragraph. Do 10 push-ups. The action does not matter. The discipline does. Because every time you keep a promise, you repair a fracture in your identity. You rebuild trust. You rebuild strength. You rebuild belief. Discipline is not about doing everything. It is about proving to yourself that you can do anything. Because you keep your own word. The first victory of the internal war. You cannot fix your life while lying to yourself about your life. You cannot grow while protecting the narratives that keep you small. You cannot win while deceiving the soldier inside you. This chapter is your mirror, not to shame you, but to awaken you. Look at your excuses. Look at your stories. Look at your lies, and destroy them one by one. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop breaking yourself. And the moment you stop breaking yourself, you start building the person you were meant to become. You just took the first real step in the war within. You mastered honesty. Now it's time to master your time. Chapter 2. Detach from your emotions before they decide your life. You will never master your life until you master the space between what you feel and what you do. Most people don't lose control because they are weak. They lose control because they never learn to separate emotion from action. Emotion is automatic. Action is a choice. But when you do not create space, the emotion becomes the action. And that is how people ruin opportunities, relationships, careers, and their own growth. Pause first. Choose second. Respond third. Your feelings are real, but real does not mean right. Your emotions are valid, but valid does not mean wise. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can feel fear without becoming fear. You can feel hurt without becoming destructive. Emotional strength is not about feeling less. It is about acting with intention instead of impulse. Let's look at the first battlefield: arguments. When emotions take control, people say things they don't mean, exaggerate small issues, and destroy trust with a single sentence. They shout because they want to feel powerful. They defend because they want to feel safe. They attack because they want to stop feeling attacked. But none of these reactions solve anything. They only create damage that takes days, months, or years to repair. Every argument has a moment, a tiny moment, where you can choose peace over ego. That moment is your weapon, and that weapon is built through one discipline: detachment. Pause first. Choose second. Respond third. The second battlefield: failure. When you fail, the first emotional response is shame. You feel not good enough. You feel exposed. You feel judged. And if you obey those emotions, you quit. Not because the task was impossible, but because your feelings decided for you. Successful people are not emotionally empty. They are emotionally trained. They feel the same frustration you feel. They feel the same disappointment you feel. But they do not react to it immediately. They give themselves space to understand the failure instead of reacting from the pain of the failure. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates progress. The third battlefield: criticism. The most powerful people in the world learn to detach from criticism. Why? Because criticism hurts your ego before it helps your growth. If you react emotionally, you become defensive. If you become defensive, you stop learning. And when you stop learning, you stop evolving. Criticism is not your enemy. Your emotional reaction to it is. If one comment can destroy your confidence, the problem isn't the comment. The problem is the lack of emotional discipline behind your confidence. Pause first. Choose second. Respond third. Here is the truth most people ignore. Emotions are not instructions. Emotions are signals. They are alarms, not commands. Anger signals a boundary. Fear signals uncertainty. Sadness signals loss. Stress signals overload. But none of those emotions tell you the correct action. You must interpret the emotion, not obey it. You must sit with the emotion, not act from it. You must separate the feeling from the decision. Detachment is not suppression. Detachment is not pretending. Detachment is not becoming cold or numb. Detachment means you feel deeply but act wisely. It means you acknowledge the emotion but refuse to let it drive your choices. It means you protect your future from your temporary state. Emotional chaos happens when you give your feelings the steering wheel. Emotional mastery begins when you take it back. Here is the transformation step. Practice the micro pause. The next time you feel angry, pause. The next time you feel triggered, pause. The next time you feel tempted to react instantly, pause. That pause is the space where your future is decided. In that pause, you ask yourself three things. What am I feeling? What are my options? Which option leads to the life I want to build? Then you act. Pause first. Choose second. Respond third. This is how leaders think. This is how disciplined people think. This is how emotionally strong people live. They do not let a 5-second emotion destroy a 5-year goal. They do not let an impulse create a regret. They do not let temporary feelings create permanent damage. Detachment is the armor that protects you from yourself. It turns emotional storms into emotional signals. It turns chaos into clarity. It turns reaction into response. And once you master this discipline, your life becomes radically different. Fewer conflicts, better decisions, stronger relationships, cleaner focus. A mind that works with you, not against you. You have now taken control of the second battlefield in the war within, your emotions. You learned that you do not have to obey your first feeling. You learned that your strength is in the pause. And you learned that emotional clarity leads to disciplined action. You just mastered emotional detachment. Now you are ready for the next step. Chapter 3. Build the discipline. No one applauds. If you want to transform your life, you must learn to honor the work that does not get applause, the work no one notices, the work no one celebrates, the work no one posts about. This is the discipline that builds real self-mastery. Not the highlight moments, not the achievements people like and share, not the victories you show the world. It's the routines you repeat when no one is paying attention. Do it when no one sees. Do it when no one cares. People chase motivation because motivation feels good, but motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation gives you energy. Discipline gives you results. And the discipline that matters most is the discipline you practice in private. Anyone can work hard when there is attention. Anyone can push themselves when someone is watching. But your future is shaped in the moments that are unseen, the quiet mornings, the late nights, the boring repetitions, the small habits that feel insignificant but compound into something powerful. There is a truth you need to accept. The work that changes your life is usually the work that looks like it's doing nothing. Reading 10 pages, meditating for 5 minutes, practicing a skill for 15 minutes, cleaning your space, planning your day, sleeping early, waking early. These actions don't look dramatic. They don't feel impressive. They don't make people clap. But these small disciplines shape your identity. They build the internal muscles that public success depends on. Do it when no one sees. Do it when no one cares. Private discipline is more important than public achievement because public achievement is a reflection. A reflection of thousands of private sacrifices, a reflection of hours spent alone, a reflection of choices made when no one was evaluating you. You can't reach a high level publicly if you don't train at a higher level privately. People want the results of discipline without the loneliness of discipline. They want the rewards without the repetition. But repetition is the real magic. Repetition is what transforms average into excellent. Repetition is what turns effort into instinct. Repetition is what builds the kind of strength that cannot be faked. When you repeat and repeat and repeat, you stop depending on feelings. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop trying to feel ready. You do the work because the work needs to be done. That is the mindset of mastery. There is a reason elite performers, athletes, leaders, creators always drill the basics. Because the basics are the foundation, and the foundation must be unshakable. A weak foundation collapses under pressure. A strong foundation carries your entire life. And the foundation is built in private. No spotlight, no applause, no audience, just you and the work. Do it when no one sees, do it when no one cares. If you want to transform, you must stop expecting the world to recognize your effort. You must stop waiting for support, encouragement, or validation. External approval is inconsistent. Internal discipline must be permanent. The moment you stop working because no one is watching is the moment you prove you were never serious. The moment you stop because you feel unnoticed is the moment you expose the truth. You're doing it for attention, not transformation. Real discipline is silent. Real discipline is quiet. Real discipline is invisible. It is built in moments where you choose structure over chaos, consistency over excuses, long-term growth over instant comfort. It is waking up when you don't feel like it. It is practicing when you are bored. It is working when you feel unseen. It is choosing progress even when it is slow. Here is what most people never understand. Private discipline makes you unstoppable because it makes you self-reliant. When you train yourself to act without needing applause, you become dangerous. You become unshakable. You become independent from the opinions, moods, and reactions of others. You no longer need people to validate you because your discipline validates you. You gain a quiet confidence that comes from keeping your word to yourself. Your transformation assignment for this chapter is simple. Choose one private discipline and commit to it daily. Something no one sees, something no one praises, something that is yours alone. It could be journaling. It could be stretching. It could be learning a language. It could be studying a skill. It could be waking up at a fixed time. Whatever you choose, do it every day, especially on the days when it feels pointless, because those are the days that build character. Those are the days that build identity. Those are the days that separate the average from the disciplined. Do it when no one sees. Do it when no one cares. You have now reached a deeper level of the internal war. You've learned that transformation is not built on big wins, but on small, repeated acts of discipline. You've discovered that the most important work is the work done in silence, and you've accepted that no applause is needed for greatness, only consistency. You mastered private discipline. Now it's time to master something equally powerful. Chapter 4. Silence your need for validation. One of the greatest weaknesses of the modern mind is the constant hunger for validation. People no longer act to grow, they act to be seen. They no longer move for progress. They move for approval. And nothing destroys discipline faster than the desire to be liked, accepted, or applauded. Validation is a quiet addiction. You don't realize you depend on it until someone withdraws it. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Approval-seeking weakens your mental toughness because it places your strength in someone else's hands. When you need validation to feel confident, you allow strangers to control your self-worth. When you need praise to take action, you hand your life over to the opinions of people who don't live it. Validation dependence makes you emotionally fragile. One negative comment shakes you. One ignored message discourages you. One rejection breaks you. That is not strength. That is slavery. Real-life example 1. Posting for likes. You upload something not because it matters to you, but because you want people to validate you. You refresh the page, checking for engagement. If the likes are high, you feel good. If the likes are low, you feel worthless. This is not self-expression. This is emotional gambling. And every time you gamble your confidence on other people's reactions, you lose a piece of your independence. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Real-life example 2. Performing for compliments. You work hard only when someone is watching. You act disciplined only when it impresses others. You push yourself only when it builds an image. But real mastery is internal, not performative. Real discipline is silent, not theatrical. When your effort depends on applause, you never grow beyond the level of the audience. When the applause stops, so does your discipline. Real-life example 3. Waiting for permission. You have ideas, dreams, plans, but you don't move because you want someone to approve, encourage, or validate your choice. You hesitate because you want someone to say, "You're good enough," or "You're ready." But listen carefully. No one will ever fully validate your potential because they cannot see what you see. They cannot feel what you feel. They cannot imagine what you imagine. Your vision was given to you, not them. And if you keep waiting for someone else to authorize your life, you will live your entire life waiting. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Validation addiction strips you of your independence. It trains your mind to believe that worth comes from outside rather than inside. And when your worth depends on others, you become easy to manipulate, easy to discourage, easy to break. Strong people are not rude or emotionless. They are simply independent of external approval. They don't need applause to take action. They don't need agreement to follow their path. They don't need permission to become who they want to be. Here is the truth. Validation is a trap because it feels like love but functions like control. You feel good when people praise you, so you chase the feeling. You shape your behavior to receive it again. You adjust who you are to match what gets rewarded. Slowly, you stop living your life and start performing a version of yourself that earns approval. And the more you perform, the more you lose your identity. The more you lose your identity, the weaker you become. So how do you break this addiction? You begin with one transformation rule. Act without being seen. Do the work without announcing it. Build the habit without posting it. Make progress without broadcasting it. Move quietly. Grow privately. Prove things to yourself first. Every time you act for yourself, not for attention, you strengthen your independence. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Next, you must redefine rejection. Rejection is not proof that you are unworthy. Rejection is simply proof that someone else cannot see what you see. It is not a judgment of your potential. It is a mismatch of perspective. When you stop taking rejection personally, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you become unstoppable. Because most people don't fail from lack of ability. They fail from fear of judgment. Finally, you must build internal validation. This means developing the ability to approve of your own effort, your own progress, your own decisions. Internal validation is built through self-respect, and self-respect is built through discipline, doing what you say you will do, keeping your promises, maintaining your standards. When you start validating yourself, external validation becomes optional. Nice to have, not necessary. Here is your transformation assignment. Create a 7-day validation detox. For 7 days, do not post your progress. Do not announce your plans. Do not ask for opinions before you act. For 7 days, rely only on your own judgment and your own discipline. You will feel discomfort at first. That is the withdrawal. But when the discomfort fades, something powerful appears. Independence. And once you feel the strength of not needing approval, you will never want to depend on it again. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. You have now mastered one of the deepest layers of inner discipline, emotional independence. You learned that the need for validation steals your strength. You learned that approval is not a requirement for progress. And you learned that self-respect is built from within, not borrowed from others. You just silenced your need for validation. Now it's time to silence something even louder, the internal noise that kills your clarity and steals your focus. Approval is external noise. Doubt is internal noise. You conquered the outside voices. Now let's conquer the inside ones. Chapter 5. Control your impulses, or they will control you. Every person loses the internal war the same way, through impulse. The impulse to react, the impulse to quit, the impulse to escape, the impulse to choose comfort over progress. Impulse is fast. Impulse is emotional. Impulse is blind, and if you do not control it, it will control you. Impulse is the enemy. Intention is the weapon. Impulses come from the most primitive part of your mind, the part that wants immediate relief, immediate pleasure, immediate release. It does not think. It does not plan. It does not care about your future. It only cares about now. And this is why impulsive people repeat the same mistakes again and again. They respond before thinking. They satisfy the feeling instead of solving the problem. They obey the temptation instead of honoring the goal. Let's break down the psychology of impulses. First, anger. Anger is the quickest impulse. It hits before your mind has time to analyze. That's why people say things they regret, escalate small conflicts, and destroy relationships in seconds. When anger controls you, you lose the ability to choose. Anger becomes the decision maker, and anger never makes wise decisions. Impulse is the enemy. Intention is the weapon. Second, temptation. This is the impulse that destroys long-term goals. You want comfort. You want sweetness. You want distraction. You want escape. You want something that feels good right now, even if it harms you later. Temptation is short-term pleasure disguised as relief. It tells you just once, but trains you to lose every time. Temptation is the silent killer of discipline because you don't feel the damage immediately. You feel it later. Third, Laziness. Laziness is not a personality trait. It is an impulse. It is the knee-jerk reaction to effort. It is resistance disguised as fatigue. It is the mind avoiding discomfort. That's why you suddenly feel tired when it's time to work, or unmotivated when it's time to move forward. Laziness is the impulse to stay the same, even when staying the same is destroying your potential. Fourth, distraction. Distraction is the impulse to escape your own mind. It pulls you from your goals, your tasks, your priorities. Notifications, noise, scrolling, entertainment, they give your brain tiny hits of dopamine, rewarding the impulse even when the impulse sabotages your growth. If you cannot control distraction, you cannot control direction. Impulse is the enemy. Intention is the weapon. Here is the truth. Mentally strong people are not stronger because they feel less. They are stronger because they pause more. They create a gap, small but powerful, between impulse and action. That gap is called intention, and intention is what gives you control. Impulse reacts. Intention responds. Impulse chooses comfort. Intention chooses growth. Impulse looks at the next 5 seconds. Intention looks at the next 5 years. You must train yourself to delay gratification. Delayed gratification is the ability to choose long-term reward over short-term pleasure. It is the master skill of self-control. Every time you delay gratification, your discipline grows stronger. Every time you surrender to impulse, your discipline grows weaker. Success is not about talent, it's about impulse management. Failure is not about ability, it's about impulse surrender. Let's talk transformation. The first step, awareness. You must catch the impulse the moment it rises. When you feel anger spike, pause. When you feel temptation whisper, pause. When you feel laziness creep in, pause. When you reach for distraction, pause. The pause is not weakness. The pause is power. The pause is the moment where you take your life back. Impulse is the enemy. Intention is the weapon. The second step, replacement. You cannot simply stop an impulse. You must replace it with intention. When anger rises, choose silence. When temptation rises, choose discipline. When laziness rises, choose movement. When distraction rises, choose focus. Intention is a deliberate act. It is you saying, I will not be controlled by the first feeling that appears. The third step, repetition. Self-control is a muscle. It grows with practice. The more you defeat impulses, the more automatic the discipline becomes. The more you strengthen intention, the weaker the impulse becomes. Over time, what used to feel impossible becomes natural. What used to be a struggle becomes a habit. What used to overwhelm you loses its power completely. Here is your transformation assignment. Practice the 10-second rule. When an impulse hits, do nothing for 10 seconds. Breathe, think, reevaluate. In those 10 seconds, your brain shifts from emotional mode to rational mode. In those 10 seconds, you regain control. 10 seconds can save you from 10 months of damage. Impulse is the enemy. Intention is the weapon. You have now learned one of the highest forms of internal discipline, the ability to separate your life from your impulses. You discovered that impulses are temporary, but consequences are permanent. You learned that intention protects you from reactive decisions, and you accepted that self-control is the foundation of true mental strength. You mastered your impulses. Chapter 6. Replace motivation with systems. Most people fail because they depend on motivation. They wait for a feeling. They wait for inspiration. They wait for energy to strike. They believe that passion will carry them forward. But motivation is unreliable. Motivation is temporary. Motivation is a spark, not a foundation. And anyone who builds their life on motivation is building it on sand. Motivation fades. Systems don't. Motivation is deceptive because it feels good. It feels exciting. It feels powerful. You wake up one day motivated and you work like a machine, but tomorrow the feeling disappears. Life gets hard, distractions appear, energy drops, and suddenly the work that seemed so easy yesterday feels impossible today. Motivation did not fail you. You never had a foundation to begin with. This is why systems are superior. Systems do not depend on mood. Systems do not care if you feel like it. Systems act automatically. A system is a repeatable process designed to produce results without relying on your daily energy or emotion. Systems create consistency. Consistency creates results, and results compound over time. Look at the first real-world example: workout routines. Someone who exercises only when motivated will never see long-term transformation. They train for a week. They skip the next. They feel guilty. They give up. But someone who creates a system, a scheduled workout, a plan that must be executed, does not rely on feelings. The workout happens because the system exists. Motivation is irrelevant. Discipline is automatic. Motivation fades. Systems don't. Second example, business habits. Entrepreneurs who wait for motivation will only work when inspired. Their growth is inconsistent. Their deadlines slip. Their vision stagnates. But when you design a system, a morning ritual, a fixed time for prospecting, for strategy, for sales, your work continues whether you feel like it or not. The system carries the day. The system carries the results. Motivation is optional. Productivity is guaranteed. Third example, study systems. Students who rely on motivation will study in bursts. They cram. They panic. They forget. But students who implement systems, set study hours, break content into manageable chunks, review consistently, do not need to feel motivated. They act, they learn, they improve. Knowledge accumulates. Exam performance rises. Systems win where motivation fails. Here is the transformation principle. Design your life like a system. Don't chase feelings. Don't wait for inspiration. Build a process that works regardless of your emotional state. Habits are the foundation of systems. Routines are the backbone of systems. Boundaries are the support of systems. And when these pieces are in place, results are inevitable. Motivation is seductive because it feels like freedom. It feels like choice. But it is actually enslaving. You become a slave to how you feel. You stop taking action when feelings fade. Systems are liberating because they remove the need to feel. They remove negotiation. They remove excuses. You no longer ask yourself if you feel like it. The system does not care. The system executes. Results are automatic. Here is your transformation assignment. Identify one area of your life where you rely on motivation. It could be exercise, study, work, or skill building. Break it down into a repeatable process. Decide what you will do every day, every session, every week, without exception. Write it down, schedule it, follow it. When your system runs, motivation becomes irrelevant. You do not wait for energy. You do not wait for inspiration. You act because the system exists. Motivation fades. Systems don't. You now understand one of the most powerful principles of lasting discipline. Feelings are temporary. Systems are permanent. Results do not depend on how you feel today. Results depend on the framework you have built yesterday, last week, last month. The system carries you forward when motivation dies. The system carries you forward when life gets hard. The system carries you forward when everyone else gives up. You replaced fleeting inspiration with permanent structure. You learned that discipline does not live in motivation. It lives in repeatable action. You learned that compounding small actions through a system beats sporadic effort every single time. You replaced motivation with a system. Now it's time to replace distractions with focus. Chapter 7. Master the art of doing hard things on purpose. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They chase ease, comfort, convenience, and immediate gratification. They never test their limits. They never challenge themselves, and because of this, they live weak, reactive, unprepared lives. But real strength is forged in discomfort. Real resilience is built when you intentionally choose the hard path. Choose difficult. Build powerful. Intentional difficulty is the training ground of the mind. It is the gym where mental toughness grows. You do not become strong by avoiding pain. You become strong by facing it, controlling it, and thriving through it. Every time you embrace controlled difficulty, you rewire your mind to handle challenges without panic. Every time you endure what is uncomfortable, you expand your capacity. Every time you master a hard choice, you strengthen your character. Let's examine real-world examples. First, cold exposure. Cold showers, ice baths, early mornings in the cold. These practices are uncomfortable, but they teach control. The mind reacts automatically to resist the cold, to escape it, to complain. But if you stay present and endure it, you train your nervous system to handle stress, to remain calm, to overcome resistance. This is a mental skill that transfers into every area of life. Pressure at work, difficult conversations, failure, rejection. Second example, silence. Sitting alone with your thoughts, removing constant stimulation, resisting distraction. This is hard. The mind wants noise. The mind wants comfort. Silence forces awareness, forces reflection, and forces the confrontation of your own weaknesses and patterns. When you embrace silence, you learn self-control. You learn patience. You learn that discomfort is not dangerous. It is a tool. Third example, early mornings. Waking up before the world when your body wants sleep is intentionally difficult. Most people hit snooze. Most people wait for motivation. But you rise. You act. You claim your morning. You start your day with a victory over your own weakness. Early mornings are a small but consistent act of choosing the hard path over the easy one. The results compound into focus, productivity, and self-respect. Here is the transformation principle. Life is full of discomfort, both expected and unexpected. Those who avoid it remain weak. Those who embrace it grow strong. You can control the discomfort you face. You can select your training ground. You can make it deliberate. And in doing so, you prepare yourself to handle every unpredictable challenge with composure, strength, and clarity. Choose difficult. Build powerful. Intentional discomfort is not about masochism. It is not about unnecessary suffering. It is about controlled, purposeful challenges designed to strengthen your mind and character. Every time you deliberately step into difficulty, you send a signal to your brain. You are in control. You are capable. You are resilient. You are building a mind that cannot be broken by minor obstacles, setbacks, or stressors. Transformation requires action. Today, choose one hard thing you have been avoiding. It could be a cold shower, waking up an hour earlier, meditating in silence, performing a challenging task you've procrastinated. Do it with focus, do it with intention, and do it consistently. The discomfort will be temporary. The mental strength you gain will be permanent. Choose difficult. Build powerful. This principle compounds. The more you practice doing hard things on purpose, the stronger you become. The more challenges you willingly endure, the less fear controls you. The more resistance you overcome, the more self-mastery you develop. Eventually, what once felt impossible becomes normal. What once triggered panic becomes routine, and your mind becomes a fortress built from choice, courage, and consistency. You now understand one of the most powerful truths of human growth. Strength is not given. Strength is chosen. Resilience is not accidental. Resilience is built. Life will always throw difficulty at you, but those who train in discomfort, intentionally, consistently, are unshakable. They do not crumble. They do not complain. They do not wait for easier conditions. They thrive where others fail. You mastered choosing difficulty on purpose. You strengthened your mind in a controlled environment. Let's move on to the next step. Chapter 8. Protect your focus like your life depends on it. Focus is the hidden currency of achievement. Most people think time is their most valuable resource. They are wrong. Time is wasted if focus is absent. Focus is what multiplies your efforts, turns hours into results, and separates the high performers from the distracted masses. If you want to win in life, you must protect your focus like your life depends on it. If it weakens your focus, it steals your future. Distraction is everywhere. It is invisible, relentless, and deceptively seductive. Phones buzzing with notifications, endless social media feeds, constant noise, competing demands, even your own wandering thoughts. All of these are mental leaks. Every time your attention is stolen, your progress slows. Every moment you give in to distraction, your potential slips away. You cannot grow when your mind is scattered. You cannot create when your energy is divided. You cannot win when your focus is fragmented. Consider modern scenarios. You sit down to work, but your phone pings. One notification, one message, one video. You look, you scroll, you respond. 20 minutes later, you realize you've done nothing meaningful. This is not harmless. This is theft. 20 minutes stolen over multiple days becomes hours. Hours become days. Days become wasted months. Your focus is the only tool that transforms potential into results. Guard it at all costs. If it weakens your focus, it steals your future. Social comparison is another silent killer of focus. Scrolling through curated lives, comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel, wondering why you are behind, this is a trap. It pulls attention away from your own work and places it on things you cannot control. Every second spent comparing is a second not spent improving, creating, or executing. Mentally strong people protect their focus by controlling what they consume, who they follow, and what they allow into their mental space. They do not give their energy to distractions, they give it to purpose. If it weakens your focus, it steals your future. Noise, physical, digital, and emotional, is also a destroyer of concentration. Open offices, group chats, constant interruptions, unnecessary meetings, all chip away at your attention. Each interruption costs more than just time. It costs mental energy. It costs clarity. It costs momentum. The longer you allow fragmented attention, the weaker your mind becomes. Protecting focus means creating an environment where distraction cannot win. Silence notifications, block unproductive inputs, set boundaries. Train your mind to guard its energy like a fortress. Here is the transformation principle. Focus is deliberate. It is not passive. You must actively decide where your attention goes. You must schedule your deep work. You must eliminate the non-essential. You must say no to everything that steals your mental power. Protecting focus is not optional. It is mandatory if you want to achieve results that matter. Your practical assignment: identify the biggest focus thieves in your life. Is it your phone, social media, chatty coworkers, noise at home? Once identified, implement boundaries immediately. Use focus blocks where you remove distractions for a set period. Reduce notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Schedule your high-value work when your energy is strongest. Train your mind to enter deep focus without interruption. The results compound. Small focus habits today become extraordinary achievements tomorrow. If it weakens your focus, it steals your future. Remember this: distraction is subtle. It feels harmless. It feels convenient. But convenience is the enemy of discipline. Ease is the enemy of progress. Protecting focus is not easy. It is uncomfortable. You will feel the urge to check, scroll, or engage. You will feel the pull of habit. That is why mental strength is required. That is why discipline matters. The stronger your focus, the more control you have over your life. The weaker your focus, the more your future slips through your fingers. You have now learned one of the most critical principles of self-mastery. Attention is your superpower. You must guard it relentlessly. You must create an environment where focus dominates over distraction. You must choose purpose over pleasure, depth over noise, execution over entertainment. You protected your focus. You now have the mental clarity and control to act decisively. Chapter 9. Make peace with boredom. Boredom is the enemy everyone fears. People chase constant stimulation, excitement, and novelty. They scroll, swipe, click, and scroll again. They seek instant gratification at every turn. But here's the truth. Boredom is not your enemy. Boredom is the doorway to mastery. The ability to embrace the mundane, the repetitive, the simple tasks that feel boring. That is what separates the average from the extraordinary. Boredom builds beasts. Most people quit when things feel boring. They abandon routines, habits, and practices the moment they stop feeling exciting. They chase peaks and thrills instead of consistency. But the foundation of greatness is built in the flat, repetitive, unglamorous moments. You do not become excellent by chasing excitement. You become excellent by doing what must be done, even when it feels tedious, slow, or dull. Boredom builds beasts. Consider the real-world examples. Learning a skill requires repetition. Practicing an instrument, coding, writing, or speaking a language all involve thousands of boring repetitions. Success does not come in a single brilliant session. It comes from showing up consistently, day after day, doing the small actions that seem monotonous. Those who endure boredom win. Those who seek only stimulation fail. Mastery favors patience and endurance over passion and inspiration. Boredom also tests mental strength. When you resist the urge to escape, you build control. When you complete a repetitive task without distraction, you reinforce focus. When you sit with simplicity instead of chasing novelty, you train your mind to operate under resistance. Every moment you embrace boredom, you train yourself to act with discipline, not emotion. Boredom builds beasts. Here is the transformation principle. Stop avoiding boring work. Stop looking for immediate gratification. Stop thinking that progress must always feel exciting. Greatness is often invisible. It happens quietly, incrementally, without applause, without stimulation, without instant rewards. You build endurance by embracing monotony. You build strength by repeating the simple things that most people quit. You build mastery by doing what must be done, even when your brain resists. Practical steps. Choose one area of your life to deliberately embrace boredom. It could be exercise, study, reading, journaling, skill practice, or reflection. Commit to doing it consistently without distraction, without shortcuts, without excitement. When the task feels boring, stay. When your mind complains, stay. Every repetition compounds into strength, focus, and mental toughness. Boredom builds beasts. The second lesson is that repetition is your superpower. Most people underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. Repetition turns effort into habit. Habit turns habit into skill. Skill turns skill into achievement. And this process is almost always boring. No one claps while you do the small things. No one posts about it. No one notices. But that is exactly why it works. The quiet, unseen work creates results that cannot be faked. Boredom also reveals your identity. If you only act when things are exciting, you are a slave to your moods. If you act when things are boring, you are in control. You define yourself not by your feelings, but by your actions. Mental toughness is built in the mundane, not in moments of drama. Emotional resilience is forged in patience, not in thrill. Success is crafted in silence, repetition, and consistency. Boredom builds beasts. Your assignment. Pick one daily task you usually avoid because it feels boring. Commit to doing it every day for the next 30 days. No excuses, no shortcuts, no stimulation. Notice how your mind reacts. Notice how resistance appears. Notice how every day you follow through, the discomfort becomes easier, the focus becomes sharper, and your resilience grows stronger. By the end of the 30 days, boredom will no longer feel like a burden. It will feel like a weapon. Boredom builds beasts. You now understand one of the deepest principles of self-mastery. Greatness is not glamorous. Discipline is not always exciting. Progress is not always stimulating. But the ability to embrace boredom, to repeat small tasks relentlessly, and to act without external validation is what creates unshakable strength, unstoppable focus, and extraordinary results. You mastered boredom. Now it's time to master the final step.
Chapter 10. Become the person you fear to face. Every person carries an internal mirror. It reflects not the world, not the opinions of others, but the truth of who you are. Most people avoid looking into it. They distract themselves. They make excuses. They lie to themselves. But the hardest and most important confrontation in life is staring into that mirror and asking, am I the person I aspire to become? Or worse, am I the person I fear my future self will judge? Be someone your future self respects. Your highest self is always watching. It is quiet. It is relentless. It keeps a ledger of every choice you make, every action you avoid, every promise you break, and every time you take the easy way out. It is not impressed by excuses, feelings, or temporary comfort. It only measures your discipline, integrity, and courage. The moment you stop living with accountability to that internal mirror is the moment you start shrinking. The moment you start hiding from yourself is the moment you begin failing. Fear is often a guide. The person you fear to face is not external. It is you. It is the part of you that knows you are capable of more, that knows you are underperforming, that sees the truth you refuse to see. Ignoring that fear leads to stagnation. Confronting that fear leads to transformation. The brave act is to look inward with brutal honesty, to admit weaknesses, and to take responsibility for every choice that shapes your life. Be someone your future self respects. Accountability is your greatest tool. Mentors, coaches, and systems can help, but ultimately, the mirror is in your mind. The person who checks in with themselves daily, evaluates their progress, and refuses to accept excuses is the person who builds unstoppable momentum. Internal accountability creates clarity. Internal accountability creates integrity. Internal accountability creates a life that aligns with your highest values. Here is the transformation principle. Live as if your future self is watching right now. Ask yourself every day, am I making the choices my future self will admire? Am I showing courage instead of comfort? Am I taking responsibility instead of blaming? Am I acting with discipline even when no one is looking? Your conscience is your coach. Your conscience is your judge. You decide whether it praises or condemns. Be someone your future self respects. Practical steps. First, create a daily reflection ritual. Spend 5 minutes each evening reviewing your day. Ask yourself what you did well. Ask yourself what you avoided. Ask yourself what you must improve tomorrow. Be honest. No excuses. No rationalizations. Second, write down one action every day that aligns with your highest self. One action that is uncomfortable, one action that pushes you beyond mediocrity. Third, act on it consistently. The mirror rewards repetition, courage, and accountability. It punishes laziness, excuses, and avoidance. Be someone your future self respects. The truth is simple but profound. Every choice matters. Every habit matters. Every decision shapes the person you are becoming. The life you want is the sum of the actions you refuse to skip, the discipline you refuse to abandon, and the courage you refuse to ignore. You cannot outsource greatness. You cannot delegate self-mastery. It is built moment by moment, choice by choice, with full awareness of your own mirror. Your transformation assignment. Look into the mirror right now. Identify one area where you are compromising your future self. Identify one habit, one action, one thought pattern, one excuse. Commit to changing it immediately. Take ownership of it. Do not wait. Do not hope. Do not blame. Your future self is counting on you. Be someone your future self respects. You have now reached the pinnacle of internal discipline. You have stopped lying to yourself. You have detached from emotions that control you. You have built private discipline, controlled impulses, embraced boredom, mastered focus, and created systems that produce results. Every lesson leads to this final truth. Your highest self is always watching. Your growth, your integrity, your courage, these define the legacy of your life. Be someone your future self respects. This is the final command of self-mastery. Carry it forward. Live by it. Every day, in every choice. The internal war is won when you honor your own potential. You are now ready to live with purpose, discipline, and unshakable integrity. Your future self is watching. Make sure they are proud. You've heard every truth you needed to hear. You've been shown every battle you've been avoiding. And now you know one thing. Every victory in your life starts with the victory inside your mind. Discipline is not loud. Discipline is not glamorous. Discipline is not something you show. It is something you become. When you control your emotions, you control your direction. When you control your impulses, you control your outcomes. When you silence your excuses, you silence your limits. The war within is the only war that matters, because the world can't defeat you until you defeat yourself. So here is your challenge. Starting today, choose one habit, one behavior, one weakness, and attack it with the discipline you've been running from. Win that battle, and you won't just change your day, you'll change your life. Now go, win the war within.